What's going on, guys? Josh here. And you know what I usually say in all my videos, right? So I usually start off with, hey guys, Josh here from Momentum Productions. It's really funny. All my friends make so much fun of me for always saying, hey guys, what's up, guys? How you doing, guys? Actually, that guy, Remy, that I shot with a few days ago for one of my tutorial videos said that he's going to actually make a montage of every single video of the intro. So he's going to make like a 20-minute long video of just me saying, hey, guys, what's up, guys? So a little bit embarrassing. But anyway, let's talk about filmmaking. Let's talk more about some advice that I can give you guys. I know that a lot of you have been asking me to go more into detail about like the business side of filmmaking, how to get clients, how to attract clients, how to reach out to clients, and overall how to build a business online, how to do some affiliate marketing as well. Affiliate marketing plays a really big part on my YouTube channel. So if you guys want to talk more about that, we can do that. If you want to talk more about some equipment, I have a ton of gimbals, as I said earlier. Some of you have been asking me if I've sold my Jewin Crane version 2 gimbal. I have. It's gone. I no longer have it because I have the Jewin Crane Plus. So the Jewin Crane version 2 was my first pistol grip, not pistol grip, but single-handed gimbal ever. Before that, I've owned multiple other gimbals, including glide cams and like really big rigs. So I'm really happy that now I own gimbals that are single-handed. It allows me to travel a lot easier, and it gives me much more flexibility in my overall shooting experience. So yeah, so let me know what you guys think. Let me open up the chat and let's see what's going on here. Everyone's saying hello, what's up, what's up, what's up? Will the Sony a7S III top the A9 for video? Also, do you think Canon Color Science is better than Sony's? Okay, Soldier Edits. That's very good couple questions there, bro. So first, let's talk about the a7S III, and will it top the A9 for video? Here's my biggest fear with the Sony a7S III. The a7S III, I don't think will have 4K 60. And here's my reason why I think that's not going to happen. First of all, the a7S III, I for sure know is going to have the same exact body as the a7R Mark III. Okay, first things first. And this is going to fall into place in just a second. Because it's going to have that same exact body, how is it going to dissipate all of that heat that comes from processing 4K 60 images? Secondly, I don't think it's going to have a more powerful processor than the Sony A9. In order for the Sony A9 to output 6K resolution footage and then downscale it to 4K, it needs a very large and powerful processor. It's actually more powerful than what's on the a7R Mark III right now. So in order for the a7S Mark III to be more powerful than the A9, guess what's going to happen to the price? It's going to be over $5,000. And that's not the price point for the a7S III. It's going to be somewhere around probably $3,500. This is my prediction. 4K 60, since it did not happen on the a7R Mark III, I strongly doubt that it's going to happen on the a7S Mark III. They usually go with similar video specs on the a7S Mark III and the a7R Mark III. Usually the only huge difference with the a7S Mark III is the low light performance. Will low light performance change compared to the a7S Mark I and a7S Mark II? I strongly doubt it. I don't think that the low light performance is going to get any better. Maybe some minor tweaks to minimize noise, but the ISO range on the a7S Mark I and a7S Mark II are ridiculous. I don't think anybody should be shooting over 4,000 ISO. And the reason for that is you're going to be blowing out a lot of natural light. For example, if you're out in the street shooting and you're shooting at, let's say, 4,000 or 6,000 ISO, all of the street lights are going to be completely blown out. So there's no point for you to be shooting at such high ISOs. only if you're shooting at a like overall massively dark area where there's absolutely no light and you can only see the moon shining. And even at that point, you shouldn't be going over 8,000 ISO, in my opinion. I've tested out the A7S Mark I, which actually has the same exact low light performance as the A7S Mark II, and 40,000 ISO is clean. Anything above 40,000 ISO, you start seeing a little bit of noise and artifacting, and the overall footage starts becoming a little bit too soft. But 40,000 ISO for a camera is so ridiculous. I never would have imagined using that type of ISO. So back to your question, Soldier Edits, will it top the Sony A9 for video? In low light performance, yes. In overall picture quality, no. This is my prediction. I don't think they're going to be putting a better sensor when it comes down to picture quality on the Sony A7S Mark III. Again, they have to focus on that price point. It has to be around the similar price point as the A7R Mark III. And if we remember, the A7R Mark II was more expensive than the A7S Mark II when they came out. So I'm expecting a similar price difference. So that means that the A7S Mark III will most likely be cheaper than the A7R Mark III. The A7R Mark III, I think, is still the flagship with Sony cameras when it comes down to overall versatility. It has the very, very high resolution megapixel count. It has phenomenal low light capabilities. I mean, 8,000 ISO, very clean. Even 10,000 ISO, very clean. Unfortunately, I bought my A9 out of panic, because when I bought my A9, that's the time when I broke my A7R Mark II. And I have kind of a rule with my equipment. I never buy the same equipment. So if I break a camera, I force myself to buy something different, because that forces me to adapt to different kinds of equipment. So I just have a rule. So I never buy the same equipment. If I break something, I have to buy something different. That just allows me to be just like more versatile, so I can expand my knowledge over different types of equipment. So that's why I went with the Sony A9. Will I be selling it anytime soon? I don't think so. I love the autofocus whenever I shoot workout videos with Rob, or you know, any of the workout videos that I've shot with different clients, even like normal clients like Vern Troyer, and like when I shot Randy Jackson videos, like actually that was shot on the A7R Mark II. But anyway, with those types of videos, I would still use the A9, because I want that confidence in my focus, especially when on a gimbal. You know, you don't really want to focus all the time. You should be focusing more on composition and exposure. Focus, you know, I think technology is to the point where focus should be nailed at least 90% of the time automatically without you having to do anything. That's just my expectation of cameras now. I think autofocus is one of the biggest flaws in cameras today, because it's very difficult to nail down autofocus. So that was one of the biggest reasons why I bought the Sony A9. The second question from Soldier Edits is, do you think the color science from Canon cameras is better than Sony's? Yes and no. There is a mix. I used to own a 5D Mark II. I sold it for a Sony A7S Mark III and the Panasonic A7S Mark I and the Panasonic GH4. The 5D Mark II and all the 5D Mark IIIs and Mark IVs, the biggest issue I had with those cameras was the extremely high contrast. There's a lot of data loss in the shadows, a lot of data loss. Compared to the Sony cameras, there's a lot of data loss in the highlights. Sony cameras are known to blow out highlights, and they actually keep more data in the shadows. So it's kind of the opposite with Canon. Canon, you know, blows out the blacks, while Sony blows out the highlights, if that makes any sense. So, I mean, overall, I've been really happy with my Sony cameras. The only reason why I switched over from Canon to Sony was because Sony is gearing more of their cameras towards video, while Canon is still marketing to photographers when it comes down to their DSLR lineup. Canon really wants you to buy their cinema cameras instead, because they tend to be more towards the cinematography and videography side. The 5D Mark IV is not a video camera, even though as much as I would like to think it is, it's not. It's still a photo camera. The 4K on that thing it looks great, but it's not user friendly. It takes up a ton of hard drive space, a lot more than the Sony cameras do. So that's why I switched over to Sony, because Sony is really focusing more towards the consumer, and their range of cameras I feel like are more geared towards the half photo and half video. Otherwise, you know, that's the only reason why I switched over. I love Canon. I will always be a Canon lover. But Sony, as much as I hate to say it, Sony did take over the market for video, and they're continuing to do so. They're making the best sensors in the world right now. They made all the sensors for Nikon. Obviously, they're not going to give Nikon their best sensors, but Nikon sensors all came from Sony, which was that should tell you a lot. Okay. Jason Vaughn, what's up, brother? How you doing? More collabs soon, bro. I hope so. More collabs, please. How much equipment does your gimbal replace? How much equipment does my gimbal replace? It actually, for the most part, it replaces a mini jib, maybe a 6-foot, 7-foot jib, and a slider. That's when I want to be run and gun. Okay, when I want to be run and gun, that's how much equipment it replaces. But when when I have the time to set up equipment, I'd rather set up a jib. I'd rather set up a slider. Ideally, you don't want to replace any filmmaking equipment with one piece of equipment, because they make that equipment specifically so you can get accurate shots. A gimbal is very, very versatile, but is it as accurate as a slider when you're doing those sliding shots? No, it's not. But overall, if you're run and gun, a gimbal does replace a lot of equipment if you're trying to get the shots quick and easy. Next question. Mika was here. Is the A9 low light performance as poor as the A7Rs? No, dude. A9, man, the A9 low light is ridiculous. And the A7R, first of all, doesn't have poor low light performance. And no way, no way. A7R, that's why I bought the A7R Mark II, first of all, because it was very good at high ISOs. Like, I was shooting, even though you never want to shoot past, like I said earlier, you don't want to shoot past 4,000–6,000 ISO. It's just ridiculous. That number right there is ridiculous. But A7R Mark II, I shot up to 12,000 ISO, I believe, and the images were clean. And they improved that low light performance in the A7R Mark III. When it comes down to the A9, I've shot up to 20,000 ISO and still having those images clean. The A9 may slightly be better in low light performance, simply because it has layered chips. If you look at the CMOS sensor on the A9, it's a stacked CMOS sensor. So you're getting the RAM on the sensor, you're getting the processor on the sensor. It's all stacked. So it's going to process images very, very quickly and very clean. It also has a backlight illuminated sensor, which is different from the earlier A7Ss, A7Rs. Back illuminated sensors gives it a little bit more of a better low light performance. So the A9 maybe outperforms the A7R Mark III a little bit in low light performance, but not a whole lot. But when it comes down to autofocus, yes, it does. It does outperform it. When it comes down to buffer speed, yes, it does outperform it. If I would have done it again, if the A7R Mark III was available when I broke my A7R Mark II, I would have went with the A7R Mark III. But I have a 5-year warranty on my A9, so I'm going to force myself to at least keep it for 4 years. It's a very expensive camera. I don't think I ever want to spend that much on a camera again. But because I have that 5-year warranty, that's going to force me to keep the camera for a while. And will I get the A7S Mark III when it comes out? Oh, yes, I definitely will. I'm definitely a big supporter of low light cameras, and I still have my Mark I, my A7S Mark I. I'll be selling it, getting rid of it, because I want that 4K in body. I don't want to use I don't want to use an external recorder. I want the ability to have a better battery, you know, a bigger battery, and I also want to have the ability to charge while I'm shooting. The A7S Mark I doesn't allow you to charge while you're shooting, which I think is a firmware thing that Sony did. I think honestly all of those cameras can do it. They just do it so you can upgrade to a different body. Yeah. All right. Cool. We got that over and done with. Mohammed, hey bro, you should do more videos about Dutch angles. All right. Okay. If you have anything specific in mind, let me know. Let me know. Hi Josh, just bought the Crane 2 and Samyang 35mm. Autofocus also super. What do you think about it? So Samyang is the same company as Rokinon. For those of you who don't know, they're the same company. I'm trying to stay away from non-native glass. I have a Rokinon 14mm lens. I don't really use it anymore. I'm trying to stick with native Sony glass like Zeiss, simply because I want to be able to control the aperture autofocus all from the body. I don't want to have to buy adapters. I don't want to have slow autofocus. So I can't give you my honest opinion on that glass, but Samyang and Rokinon, they do produce good footage. The only issue I have with Samyang and Rokinon is vignetting on the edges and softness on the edges. That's something that they're really known for, unfortunately, is soft edges and vignetting on the edges. But for the price, you get a very sharp center, and at times I did have to crop some of the edges of my frame because of that vignetting. So keep that in mind. Soldier Edits, if you had to recommend a DSLR body for only $3,500, which would you choose? A7R III? Yes, you just answered your own question, my friend. A7R Mark III, definitely. Mika was here. What aperture did you use when you got clean video on high ISO? I was wide open, so I was at f4. I recently purchased the 85mm 1.8, so I'm gonna try shooting a lot more with that lens because of that 1.8 and that bokeh that it produces is just so clean. And the 85 1.8 is actually probably one of the sharper lenses that I own. It's sharper than my 16-35 Zeiss, and it's sharper than my 24-70 Zeiss. So yeah, and it was the cheapest lens out of all of them. So that should tell you a lot. Mika was, okay, we already answered that. Israel said, Happy New Year, boss. Happy New Year to you too, brother. Yeah, cool. Any more questions, guys? Any more? I haven't done a live stream in a while, using my crappy webcam in my messy room to shoot all of this in. But yeah, this is what it is. Jason actually recommended me to upgrade to a video capture box, which I eventually will be doing. That way I can use my cameras as a webcam. And I think I'm going to be doing that, Jason. So thank you very much for recommending me that. So yeah, I'm going to be, eventually I'll be upgrading my cameras. Eventually I'll be moving as well to a bigger place, hopefully. If everything goes to plan this year, which I hope it does, I will be moving. I will have a much bigger place. I'll actually be able to set up a studio and not have to like put up equipment, take down equipment, because my space can get pretty cramped. So it would be nice to have one room just dedicated to a studio. Favorite native Sony lens at the moment? At the moment, my favorite Sony lens is the 16-35 f4. That's my favorite lens because it's the most versatile. I use it on my gimbals all the time whenever I shoot client videos and all that stuff. So 16-35 all the way. However, I will be buying the 70-200 G Master 2.8 lens later this year. I'll be buying that with my A7S Mark III. So yeah, that's going to be a pretty big buy for me, but I'm excited about it. All right, good question. How do you plan your work? Do you have a digital calendar? Oh man. Okay, give me a second. I have a whiteboard right here. Let me take it down and I'll show you how I plan my stuff. But in other words, yes, I also have a digital calendar. Whenever I schedule a shoot, I just go on my phone or I go on my MacBook and I go in the calendar app and I mark down what days I'm shooting. I type in a little bit of a description just so I have an idea of what equipment I need to bring. But when it comes down to specifics, I have a whiteboard and I use the Notepad app in my phone. So I have a really small whiteboard here. Let me try and take it down for you guys. Okay. Sorry, it's taking me a while. Okay, so here's a little whiteboard I have. This is specifically important for my YouTube reviews. This whiteboard allows me to just jot down some specific notes or some specific things that I want to mention in my YouTube videos. For example, I will be reviewing a new microphone for Comica. This is a smartphone microphone. It's a lav wireless microphone, and then I have an aperture light coming in today, so I'll be reviewing another aperture light. It's the Fresnel light. It's the Mini 20D. I'm actually very excited about this light because I've seen a lot of review videos on it and it looks fantastic. And of course, I'll be comparing that light to my King TV Boltzmann series lights. The Boltzmann series lights are more powerful. They're about double the output of this light, but I'm going to try and still compare it when it comes down to build quality, color accuracy, and overall ease of use and fan noise, because both of these lights will have fans. I'll tell you right now that the King TV Boltzmann lights that I have, they're also Fresnels, just like the Mini 20D. They're dead silent. You can only hear the fan when you literally put your ear on the light. It has a very, very quiet heatsink. So yeah, so that's something I'm definitely going to be comparing. And a whiteboard is a must, guys. I have a really small whiteboard too. I'm going to upgrade to a whiteboard that actually covers up a whole entire wall, because I keep erasing this and I like to keep some of this up for a couple of weeks just to remind myself of what type of stuff I want to hit in next videos. But yeah, a little whiteboard like this costs 15 bucks. Definitely recommend it. Everybody needs to have this, not only if you're into filmmaking, but if you're an entrepreneur of any kind or just a regular guy or girl that works, boom, you need a whiteboard. It just reminds you of all these cool things that you need to be doing. So that goes back up here on my wall. I also keep my business tax license up on the wall as well. Yes, my business is registered, which is another important thing. If you're a filmmaker and that is your main source of income, you should be registered. So my company, Momentum Productions, is registered as a motion picture company. So I'm happy about that. All right. Sorry that you guys are staring at my groin for a little bit, but yeah, that's that. Jason, by the way, Jason's review on the Boltzmann series lights pushed me to buying them. So I'll tell you right now. So check out Jason's review video on the Boltzmann series lights. Jason, can you post a link by any chance so people can check it out? That would be awesome. Yeah, check out the Boltzmann series lights, guys. Jason hopefully will post the link to that video in the chat. So check out those lights because so far they're one of my favorite lights right now. They're extremely powerful and they are powered off of the Sony MPF style batteries. So that's like the most, and they're tiny too. They're very tiny lights and they produce a lot of power. Cineshade says, I'm stuck right now. I have a Canon T5i and it's not good in low light. Also, it shoots max at 60 frames per second at 720p, very soft video. Now I have the money to upgrade, but I need a perfect suggestion. Cineshades, what is your What's your budget looking like? Let me know what your budget is. Sammy says, would you use the 28mm f2 for gimbal shots, or do you think the 1635 f4 is always better for that purpose? I don't have the 28mm f2. I don't use it. The only reason why, guys, so for the videos that I shoot, I like to use zoom lenses simply because I'm run and gun. So I don't want to keep switching out primes. If I'm on a movie set or if I'm shooting like behind the scenes and I have that ability to like pause, switch out the lens, put something else on, then yes, I will do it. But when I'm run and gun, I want to easily switch focal lengths. What's great about the f4 lenses from Zeiss is that they're very sharp all around. At the 16mm focal length, it can be a little bit soft and a little bit distorted on the edges, but overall, it's very, very sharp. I've never had a problem with soft images on the Zeiss f4s, so that's cool. Again, I'm gonna get the G Master 70-200 very, very soon. That's coming along with my A7S Mark III. As soon as they announce it, I'm buying the pair together. Jason says the YouTube chat won't let me link it. Okay, I'll link it. I'll find it right now. You guys need to check out those lights because Jason did a really cool job with that review. King TV Boltzmann. Video light for weddings. Here it is. I found it. Yeah, guys. I want you guys to see how easy these lights are to like carry around. Like, if you're a wedding photographer, videographer, if you're you know, if you're a filmmaker in general, you need Fresnel lights. That's just a plus. You need Fresnel lights. The only negatives I saw on the Boltzmann series lights, the only thing I didn't like, actually two little things I didn't like, is that with the Sony MPF style batteries, you can't go past 60% brightness. Otherwise, the light shuts off because it starts sucking more power than what the battery can supply. So you can attach a V-mount battery if you want. And at full power, a V-mount battery can support like 3 hours. So that's pretty useful. The second thing are the way the barn doors cut the light. And I read somewhere it has something to do with the actual plastic lens and the Fresnel design. It's not the best quality lens, which is why the edges from the barn doors are a little bit soft. So that's the only two things that I don't like about the Boltzmann. But for the price for a set of 3, it's around like $850, $860. That's the biggest deal you will get ever on a Fresnel. And they're 55 watts. 55 watts. The aperture light that I'm getting is a 30 watt, and it produces 150 watts of power output. These ones I think produce about 300, 400, if I'm not mistaken, Jason. But they're blinding to look at. Okay, they're blinding to look at. So yeah, check out Jason's video. I think the link went through, guys. Can you confirm with me? Check out that video because those Boltzmanns you're gonna definitely want to buy. Okay, next question is from Cineshades. Your budget is $5,500 and you want a new camera. So I'd get the A7R Mark III and I'd get a nice little lens to go along with that. Jason Vong is on the chat, guys, too. So he has the A7R Mark III. So if you guys have any specific questions about the A7R Mark III, I think he will be more than happy to answer some questions about that. So you can go ahead and ask him or check out his YouTube channel. You can just click on his profile picture, I think, and it will take you to his channel. But yeah, he has the A7R Mark III. He has a 6 setup. He has a Batis. I think he has an 85mm and an 18mm. And then he has the G Master 70-200. These are the only lenses that I see him use. I'm sure he has a lot more at home, but the ones that I see him use were the 18mm Batis, the 70-200, and I think the 24-70 G Master as well. Yeah, I think those are the lenses that he's using. Cineshades, dude, that's a great budget, $5,500. A7R Mark III definitely, and then maybe get a few primes. It all depends on the type of gigs you're getting. Are you getting like run and gun type of gigs, or what other type of stuff are you getting? Cancerous Kevin, what is the best gimbal for a budget? I'm using a cheap glide cam sort of thing that is less than $100. I'm looking to upgrade to a more advanced solution for smooth footage. Budget is $500. I suggest getting the Jewin Crane version 2. That's definitely going to fit right under your budget. You can find one on Amazon, I think, for $400. D, what's up, dude? How you doing? Max Love says, what's up, man? You doing good? Thanks, man. Did you receive the USB 3 to micro USB cable with your Crane 2? I'm missing that one and cannot do the follow focus with my 5D Mark IV. Yeah, I did receive it. Yeah, I have that cable. Interesting. Contact Juintech, okay? Cineshade says restaurant commercials and travel videos. Okay, so for restaurant commercials, you might need a prime or two. For travel videos, most likely you'll need zooms, just so you don't have to keep loading up new lenses. So maybe for travel videos, maybe get a 24-70 Zeiss f4. For restaurant commercials, just invest in a bunch of primes, because the 24-70 I think is around $700-800. So the A7R Mark III I think is $3,500. And then with $800, that's $4,300. So you have $700 left over. What other lenses can you get? You can get an 85mm 1.8. You can get a 50mm. Yeah, get another prime. I feel like 24-70 is probably the most versatile lens on the market. It's wide enough to get beautiful gimbal shots, and it's narrow enough to get some beautiful shallow depth of field and some great detail shots as well. Cancerous Kevin is asking, what's the name of it? I'll spell it out for you. It's the Juintech version 2 gimbal. All right, so check that out. Jewel gimbal? No, Juintech. Sounds like Jew and Tech, but it's actually Juintech. New film view. Cheap instruments for stability. Cheap instruments for stability. I do have one. It is a little shoulder rig. Maybe I can send you a link to it. It's like a $50 shoulder rig, and it's great for beginning filmmakers, but as soon as your gear starts piling up, you need a more professional rig. But let me see if I can send you a link. I think I can find it here on Amazon for you. Here it is. Foldable shoulder rig. It's only $32. And you can literally use it for a ton of different applications. Check it out. Okay, next one. Max Love says, I just got the Panasonic G7 kit for $900 and the Sigma 18-35 for $850 and a new Crane 2 for $850. All thanks to your info. Max Love, much love to you, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Cancerous Kevin says, thank you. You are very welcome. Mika was here. Mika was here, says, you skipped my question a couple times. If you would make a lot of money, would you still prefer Sony, or would you buy Ari, Red, or anything of that kind of money? Listen, if I had $50,000 to spend, I would still not buy a Red. I won't buy an Ari. I won't buy a Black Blackmagic is cheap, but I won't buy a Red. I won't buy an Ari. I would spend all of that money on glass. Lenses are more important than the camera body, guys. I'm telling you that right now. You can have a crappy camera body and a very high quality lens, and your pictures will still come out fantastic. Glass is way more important than camera bodies. I'll tell you that right now, okay? And that's something I still have a tough time understanding. But if you have high quality glass, you're in very good hands. You can shoot on a Canon T3i with L series glass and get phenomenal photos, okay? So it's not always about the camera body. Camera bodies, what they do, they allow you to access some really nice features, like low light for one. Like when you're talking about low light, yes, camera bodies do matter, but overall picture quality, I would say about 75 to 80% comes from the glass. Okay, so update glass, get as much glass as you can. Ton of primes, ton of zooms. There's only a few zooms on the market. There's not that many. There's much more primes than there are zooms, but a few zooms, like basic 24 to 70, 70 to 200 zooms. That's honestly all you will ever need. And then try to focus on mid-range, wide angle, and some mild telephoto lenses like the 85 mil, and start with that basic package. But yes, again, to answer your question, I will not buy Ari cameras or Red cameras. Not interested. I love them. I love the images they produce, but for the type of work that I'm doing, it is not a practical camera for me. For one, setting up those cameras is a pain. It takes a lot more time. You have to put them together. Two, to store the footage, you need multiple hard drives that are at least 4 terabytes each. After that, you have to work with proxy files in order to properly edit the footage. And then after that, you don't have autofocus. After that, you don't have a microphone built into the camera so you can sync audio. I think the newer Reds actually do. They might have some built-in mic to help you out with scratch audio for syncing, but please correct me if I'm wrong. And they're huge. Yes, Cineshades is right. They're huge. They're massive cameras. Philip Bloom did bring up a new camera company called Kinfinity, I think that's what they're called, and they started making this cool 4K camera and 6K camera called the Terra 4K and Terra 6K. For 10 grand, you get everything that you will ever need for a cinema camera. You get, except for the glass, you get SSD drive, you get I believe you get some sort of shoulder rig, you get a monitor, you get everything to help you start up the camera and start filming immediately. So that is a big plus, and it's only for 10 grand. And it's a cinema camera. And from all the shots that I've seen that Philip Bloom was doing, the camera looks great. It looks great. So my experience level with Red cameras is minimal. I shot on a Red Scarlet multiple times. I've shot on Blackmagic, which I'm sorry if you guys have a Blackmagic camera, but I'm going to say this anyway. Blackmagic is absolutely god-awful. It is so bad. Picture is mediocre. And the overall ergonomics of Blackmagic cameras are just so bad. Button placement, touchscreen I can't stand Blackmagic. I'm sorry, I can't. They definitely did a good job while making a cinema camera affordable, but when it comes down to ergonomics and picture quality, oh man, not a good choice. So sorry if you guys have a Blackmagic, but I'm just not a fan. Oh man, thanks man. Next time, bye. All right, talk to you later. Max Love says my next is an 8 to 18 Panasonic for about $1,000. Yeah, nice. Yes, glass is number one. Yeah, guys, glass is definitely number one. So after I get my A7S Mark III, I'm done upgrading camera bodies for the next 5 years. That's like an oath I'm making to myself. I'm only going to start investing in glass. That's it. A7S Mark III will be my last camera for the next 5 years. You guys are my witnesses for me saying that. I will not upgrade my camera bodies after the A7S Mark III. That's it. I'm done. Camera lenses from now on. Send the info on the 10K camera you were talking about. Okay, let's see what I can do here. Terra Infinity. I think I found it. Okay, I found the website. They're a Chinese company, by the way. Here it is. Here, I'll send you the link. Okay, so here's the link. Check out this camera company. And I know Jason was while I was shooting with Jason Vong with our tutorial videos, we were talking about this camera company. So Jason, if you're still in the chat, I don't know if you are here or left. That's the website for that Terra 4K that Phil Bloom was using. That's the camera he's been using. So he's been using the 4K model, I believe. But yeah, this is probably the most affordable yet highest picture quality camera I've seen for 10 grand. And it comes with a bunch of stuff included, guys, like a monitor, you get a shoulder pad, you get the battery, you get an SSD drive. I think a 500 gig SSD drive, even though it's not much, it's still good enough to get you off the ground. But yeah, check it out and let me know what you think. Good questions today, guys. I'm proud of you. Do you guys have any more questions for me? We covered a lot. We covered a lot. By the way, guys, we are 111 subscribers away from 30,000 subscribers. Please share this channel with your friends and family. Let's get it up to 30,000. Jason Vong beat me. I wanted to get to 30,000 before him, but he took over, bro. And Jason, you are the man, dude. If you're still here, you are the man. But I'm just kidding, jokes aside. But please, if we can share this channel, let's get up to 30,000 subs, and let's make this a great filmmaking community. Jason Vong, Atola Visuals, James Matthews, Brotographer, that one camera guy, we're all buddies now, which is great. We're all on the same Instagram chat, DMs, and stuff like that. So expect some great collaborations in the future because it's coming. We're going to have some great stuff coming for you guys. I'm supposed to be actually collaborating with Kitty from Atola Visuals in about 2 or so weeks. My family and I were heading up to see my brother in San Francisco, and I'm going to be shooting some stuff with Kitty there, and we're going to be having some fun. So hopefully that will pull through very soon, and you guys will be updated once the content has been shot and finished. Okay, why do you use handlebars on the crane that way around? I just found it to be, and this is a question from D. He's asking, why the handlebars are upside down. I like it more. It's just my preference, to be honest. It's more comfortable for me, and one of the biggest reasons actually is that there's quarter 20-inch screw mounts on the bottom of the handle. So when I flip them up, I'm able to attach a monitor easily to that handle. So that's why they're flipped in that direction as well. But overall, I actually like having them pointed up. It's just a preference I have. Yeah. So give it a try. If you have the handlebars, give it a try and let me know what you think. Max Love says, yes, you did. Thank you so much, and I will share you all the time. Thank you, Max. Much love, brother. Thank you. Yeah, guys, any more questions? We've been going on for 44 minutes already. This is awesome. Yeah. By the way, did anyone see the new follow focus from Juentech? It looks pretty freaking cool. It looks pretty freaking cool. So hopefully I'll get my hands on one very soon. I'm pretty excited about it, actually. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Eric, what's up, Eric? Hey, do you appreciate using the dual handle on the June Crane 2? Will it be more comfortable and more easy to run with? Should I buy a remote control too? Eric, the answer is yes to both your questions. The dual handle system is definitely worth it, especially on the Crane 2. The Crane 2 is a heavy gimbal. It's not too light. So with using a dual handle system, you're going to get much more out of the gimbal because you are releasing a lot of stress, a lot of pressure off of your arms and your back. On top of that, you're getting very accurate and stable shots because you're using two hands instead of just one. So if one of your shoulders goes up, the other one is going to correct it, because by using that dual handle system, you can't really put one arm higher than the other. Your arms have to stay leveled at all the time. With using one hand, however, your shoulder can go up or down without you even noticing. So that's another reason why the dual handle system is a very good thing to have, because it can correct you from doing weird things with your shoulders and arms. D says, yeah, looks good, but it's far bigger than I thought. Don't forget, Juentech is going to also be releasing a mini dual grip. So that's another cool thing. I had the chance to test it out at CES. I like it, but not as much as the dual handle system. If you're packing light, it's definitely a solution for those of you who do that. The follow focus module is bigger than you thought. I think it's about the similar size as the, it's actually even smaller than DJI's follow focus. So I think it's about the right size, in my opinion. And then Eric, I didn't answer your second question. Should I buy a remote controller too? Yes, but wait for that follow focus remote. That's the one you need to buy, not the small one, but buy the bigger one with the follow focus wheel. Trust me, it's going to pay off at the end. Soldier Edit says, when do you think 10-bit 422 will come to the Sony bodies? Oh, man. Not this generation. And by generation, I mean not the Mark IIIs. Possibly Mark IVs. Possibly Mark IVs. The biggest issue with Sony right now is heat. That is the only reason why you're not seeing 422 10-bit, and that's the only reason why you're not seeing 4K 60. It's heat. And the reason why the Panasonic cameras are getting away with it is because they're using a smaller sensor, which means that the processor in the camera doesn't have to process as much data, or as much data as the Sony bodies, because they're full frame. So that's what we're seeing an issue with, guys, is heat. It's all about heat. That's why Sony cameras have such a bad problem with overheating. I mean, Sony wants to make camera bodies smaller. That's just the future. That's what it's going to be. They're working on the technology to make heat dissipate a lot better from these cameras. So that's the number one issue with Sony, is how do we get rid of all that heat without putting in a fan? We don't want a fan in these cameras, guys. That's why we use DSLR and SLR cameras. We don't want to work with cinema cameras because they have very loud fans. We want to get away from that. So we want to deal with small bodies, but with minimal heat. But yeah, that's the number one issue. That's why we're not seeing any of the features that we truly want to see in these small camera bodies. Cineshade says, you missed one of my questions above. Can you ask it again, please? Because there's a ton of questions here. Frame Media Event says, Flycam Nano DSLR and GH3 for weddings. What do you think? What do you think about? Okay, so Flycam, I used to have a Flycam. I didn't like it. I returned it the next day, and this was probably my first gimbal ever. And this was back in 2013, excuse me. 2013 was when I bought my first Flycam. That was my first gimbal ever. Returned it the next day. So no, don't buy a Flycam from my my point of view. The follow focus, it looks bigger. Yes, it does. 10-bit 422K and the 4K Panasonics is awesome, but a pain to play back. Yeah, that's true. Max Love, got to go. Be cool. Much love. Much love to you too, brother. Take care. Kuba says, have you considered switching to the GH5S? Many people doubt that the A7S about the A7S Mark III. I've got the A7S and it's great, but as soon as I save some money, it'll be an important decision on what to invest in the future. Guys, I'm done with Panasonic GH5, GH4 cameras. I'm done. Even the GH5S, the biggest issue I have with Panasonic is focus. As I stated earlier, I need a camera that's great in autofocus, and the Panasonic GH series is not that. It's horrible. My GH4 was probably hitting focus 20% of the time on a good day. On a good day. Could you imagine how tough it was for me to shoot on 3 different cameras by myself, no other crew? I had to shoot on 3 different cameras, and one camera kept going out of focus on me. Okay? It's very tough for me to monitor 3 different cameras and having to babysit them on their focus. It's not right. So, and the GH4 and GH5 were horrible in low light. After watching a few videos on GH5S's low light, it's great low light. Doesn't touch the A7S. Doesn't even come close to the capabilities of the A7S. And you lose the in-body stabilization on the GH5S. And no, Panasonic, bad decision. So no, I would suggest going to the A7S Mark III or A7R Mark III. Do not. I'm just giving you my honest feedback, guys. I was a Panasonic user, so I got rid of it. I couldn't trust that camera. Battery life, phenomenal. Picture quality, phenomenal. When it was in focus. It was the easiest camera I had to use when it came down to like the button placement, menu. It was so easy, a lot easier than the Sony cameras. Portability, yes, the best. Weight, yes, the best. But focus and low light, 2 big, huge problems. Huge problems to have on a camera. That is an absolute deal breaker for me. If you're at full frame right now, if you're shooting on full frame, stay at full frame. Don't go down a crop sensor anymore, okay? Stay at full frame. I learned my lesson the hard way. After I bought the A7S, I bought the GH4, and that was just a big mistake. I'm never going back to a crop sensor camera again. Unless I'm shooting like Super 35 on a cinema camera, I'm never going back to a crop sensor camera again. Should I buy the A7S Mark III for 4K video when it's released? Yeah, dude, why not? Why not? Will it have 4K 60? As stated earlier, I doubt it. I doubt the A7S III will have 4K 60. And it all has to do with having similar specs as the A7R Mark III. Don't forget, let's follow the pricing gap of the A7 II series cameras. The A7S II was cheaper than the A7R Mark II. So I feel like it's going to have, when it comes down to video features, besides the low light, I don't think it's going to be that much better than the A7R Mark III. Obviously, low light's going to be 4 times better than the A7R Mark III. But when it comes down to 4K 60, I don't think we're going to see it on the A7S Mark III. I hope we do, but I doubt it. By the way, I'm subbed because of your great videos on the Crane 2, Canon, and Sony videos. Thank you so much, you guys. You know what I noticed? You know what I noticed about you guys? You don't really watch my review videos too much, but you watch a lot of my tutorial videos. So I want to ask you guys, would you rather, I did a poll about on this a few months ago, and I'm not going to tell you the answer to that. I'll tell you the answer later. But I want to know right now, guys, would you rather see many more tutorial videos rather than review videos? Because I noticed that I get like a third or a quarter of the views on my review videos compared to my tutorials. So if that is the case, please let me know. I still will continue doing review videos simply because the few of you who do want to get new equipment, I still want to have that option for you, that the option to watch my content, but I'm pretty sure you guys are more leaning towards tutorial videos. So correct me if I'm wrong. Woo! That was a lot to say. D says, I do love my GH5. To be honest, it takes some playing with to conquer it. The AF is terrible, but I can actually deal with that low light. Like light when I can, but not everyone has the option. Yeah. Guys, Panasonic, the GH cameras have the best picture quality right now for that type of camera size. It's the best picture quality you'll get. But when it comes down to actually using the camera, like the autofocus and low light, as I stated earlier, it's the worst. But picture quality is the best. You can't really argue with that. Greetings from Germany. What's up, Germany? Solara Texas do both. All right, awesome. More tutorials on how to execute certain gimbal shots. Okay, I got another one coming on Monday, guys. I have a really good tutorial coming out on Monday. Let me tell you a little bit about it. A lot of you have been seeing me how I shoot in normal motion and fast motion on gimbals, but I haven't really done a tutorial on slow motion. So I want to talk more about gimbal and camera composition in slow motion, some cool camera settings for slow motion. I'm going to shoot it up to 120 frames per second, so super slow motion there. And I'm going to show you the effect and when the proper time is to use slow motion in your shots, because not always is it appropriate to use slow motion, at least in my view. A gimbal is meant so you can use it at fast motion, slow motion, and normal motion. So most of my footage that I've shot is shot in real time. All the review videos that you've seen, most of it is done in real time, just so I can show you the stability of the gimbal and the algorithms and the quality of the motors and all that stuff. I want you guys to see real time what these gimbals are made out of. And as a bonus, I add fast motion so you guys can see even sped up how stable the gimbal is as well. But slow motion, we all know that in slow motion you will get smooth shots, even handheld. So, but with this slow motion tutorial, I want to focus more on camera composition and some other cool gimbal movements as well. But camera composition is mainly what I'm going after for this slow motion tutorial. Camera composition and when to use slow motion. So I think that would greatly help you guys out telling your story. And obviously, I'm going to have a few buddies of mine helping me out with this video. Yeah, that way I can show you what's happening when you're shooting a model. D says, I bought the Sakani monitor because of your review. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much. Are you happy with the Sakani? Let me know. Sergio says, both are great. Cineshade says, is 24 to 70 2.8 gens G Master lens worth it? I'd rather get the f4, to be honest. Get the f4. Save yourself that 15. I think it's, how much more is it? It's like almost $1,000 more, I believe. Save yourself that $1,000. Go for the f4. That's what I did. Solara Tech donated $2 super chat. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate the donation. If you guys would like to give me a super chat, please do so. I'll give you a shout out. And also, please share this channel with your friends. Let's get that sub count up to 30,000. We're very close. We're 111 or 112 subs away from 30,000. Let's keep it up, guys. I love you all so much for tuning in, and let's keep pushing. We're at 59 minutes, and we still got questions coming, which means I can't go anywhere. I got to answer your questions. You guys are priority. Let's let in some more light here. Okay. Solara Tech says, love your gimbal tutorials. Thank you so much. Soldier Edit says, so just to make clear, you would purchase the A7R Mark III over the A9 or A7S Mark III, considering your predictions are correct. What are the 3 main reasons for this decision? Actually, too much light. Okay. After owning the A7 or after owning the A9, I will not downgrade to the A7R Mark III. And yes, I do consider it a downgrade for multiple reasons. Is it a massive downgrade? No. Is it worth the money? It depends. For my use, I've noticed that the A9 produces slightly sharper images in 4K simply because it's downscaling from 6K. You know, the A7R Mark III shoots at 5K, A9 shoots at 6K. So you're going to get slightly sharper images, a little bit crispier than the A7R Mark III. Also, low light is slightly better on the A9, and autofocus is a lot better on the A9, and so is the buffer speed. But again, the buffer speed only comes down to when you're taking photos, and I'm not that much of a photographer. But when it comes down to the autofocus, the low light, and the 6K downscaling to 4K, would I sell my A9 for an A7R Mark III? The answer is no. I did not think the A9 was that big of a deal until I owned it. But if I didn't have the A9 or the A7R Mark III, I probably would have went after the A7R Mark III, simply because the specs look good enough. I had the A7R Mark II and I loved it, so I would have naturally just went up to the A7R Mark III. But after owning the A9, I'll tell you right now, I will not go to the A7R Mark III. I eventually will want to take some photos. I eventually will dive into photography. When I get my 70-200 lens, I'm going to start taking a lot of sports photography. I have a lot of athletes that I'm friends with. So I'm going to start getting into photography. And with sports, the A7R Mark III really lacks that speed when the A9 just kicks ass. So no, I still do prefer the A9 over the A7R Mark III. Obviously, it's a very expensive camera, so you have to know what you want before you buy the camera. As I said before, I bought my A9 before the A7R Mark III was even announced. So yeah, just take that into account. Sorry if that sounds a little confusing, but that was my mindset. Wow, guys, these are great questions here. Okay. Andreas says, third try, Josh. How do you calculate your film jobs? How do you approach? What do you mean calculate my film jobs? Are you talking about pricing? The Colorful World of Mary and Alex. How about the Canon 1DX Mark II? A lot of top YouTube filmmakers using it, and they say it's better than the Sony. I'm a Sony fan and want to upgrade in the near future. No, I don't think the 1DX Mark II is better than the Sony A9. I think the Sony A9 beats it. Yes, the Mark II shoots at 4K 60, but Sony's faster at autofocus. And it's a lot smaller, it's easier to use, and it's quiet. The Mark II, the 1DX Mark II is loud. It's like a machine gun. If you're shooting a wedding, if you're shooting like tennis where it has to be quiet, or if you're shooting golf where it has to be quiet, you can't shoot with a 1DX Mark II. It's too loud. If you're paparazzi, it's very loud to have a 1DX Mark II. The Sony A9 is dead silent at 20 frames per second shooting, okay? So no, I don't think that the 1DX Mark II is better. Now, when it comes down to filmmaking, when it comes down to picture quality, it looks to me from the images that I've seen that the 1DX Mark II has slightly better dynamic range. Now, this is watching it on YouTube. With YouTube, there's compression and things to look at, but no, I would not say that the 1DX Mark II is better. I switched from Canon over to Sony specifically because they're gearing towards video, and I think I'm happy with that decision. I do still prefer the Sony A9 over the 1DX Mark II. It's faster, it's smaller, it's quieter, and the only thing that I like on the 1DX Mark II over the A9 is the 4K 60. And even on the 1DX Mark II at the 4K 60, it's not practical because it takes up a ton of memory, a ton of space. If I'm not mistaken, again, I don't own the 1DX Mark II, but from what I've seen, it stores footage at 4K 60 one image at a time. So it actually takes shots, digital shots, obviously, no shutter is used, and then compresses all those images into footage. So the memory card fills up probably 10 times faster than what it would on the Sony A9. So it's not a practical setup with filmmaking. Wow, good question. D says he's very happy with the Sakani, need to use it more, only had it a week. Awesome. I actually have another monitor coming in next week from a company called Field World. It's half the price of the Sakani, but we'll stack it up and see which one is better. Wow, a lot of questions, guys. It's like overwhelming, but I'm going to answer all of them. Don't worry. Okay, hey Josh, will the Crane V2 be enough to support an A7S II and a 16-35 f4? Yes, it will, because I used my A9 with the 16-35 f4 and with the Crane V2, and it supported it just fine. You're good. You're fine. Loved your gimbal reviews so much. I bought one. Just got the June Crane version 2, and still learning how to balance it. All right, so make sure you watch all my balancing tutorials. All right, because it's a great gimbal. Okay, and once you have it properly balanced, ooh, you're gonna have a lot of fun. Wind Capture Tech says, I have the Sony a6500 Sigma 16mm small rig cage, nice, and a June Crane version 2. I don't like the rebalancing after the battery changes. Quick release, or will it be too heavy? Okay, so you're using a 6500 with 16mm smaller cage and a quick release. I think it might be too heavy for the version 2. Are you shooting? Yeah, I think it might be a little bit too heavy. You're probably going to end up buying a mini quick release plate. I think Manfrotto makes one, just a mini. It's literally half the size of a regular quick release plate. You can try giving that a shot. But again, your payload is 4 pounds. Okay, so try and weigh everything. If it comes under 4 pounds, you're good. But you're tiptoeing on hell's boundaries there, okay? So you're going pretty close to the max payload there, I would assume. So I'd be a little bit careful with adding a quick release plate there. Okay, from your experience opinion, is it necessary to balance the crane so there is no movement whatsoever before turning it on? What do you mean there is no movement? Can you elaborate on that, please? Andreas, okay, so Andreas was asking, how do I go about pricing my videos? Man, this is such a complicated question. Andreas, I'm going to need you to check out 2 of my videos that I've already released, and that was creating contracts. Okay, so it kind of ties down to that. Kind of. Things have changed. My equipment has changed. I use much more expensive equipment. My time is more valuable now, and pricing is just such a difficult thing to talk about. I'm probably going to have to create a course with Jason Vong about this. We're gonna, yeah, I would love to create a little, a little course, a little master class on pricing your time, pricing your business. But it's not something I can just answer right now. It's definitely not. But what you can do, Andreas, to get a little bit of a point of view on the subject, go to my channel, go to my videos, and search for contract. Just in the search icon, just type in contract. And you should see, I think, 2 videos at least that will show you and demonstrate to you how to come about your pricing. Things have changed now. That video was done, I think, 2 years ago. Things have changed. But that's a great way to actually start off your business. I give you a little bit of a pricing scale there for beginning filmmaking. Eventually, when you get better at it, you're going to have to charge more, okay? Time is money. The more valuable you become, that's how much, you need to be increasing your pricing, okay? Woo, a lot of questions. Wanted to say that I love your channel. Keep up the good work. Watched nearly every video you posted in the last month. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, that warms my heart. Thank you. D is asking, do you generally have a percentage of how much cash you put back into your business for gear based on what you earn or so? Okay, so that's very good question. How much money in my bank account that I earn for my work do I spend on gear? Very good question. I'm trying to ballpark it for you, so I'm trying to do a little bit of math in my head. I would say between a quarter. Yeah, I think a quarter is a good thing to go off of. Okay, so a quarter of what you make can go to equipment. Max. Max. Okay. So yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be spending more than that. So take how much money you make in a year and use 25% maximum, because you still got bills to pay. You got car payments, housing payments, insurance payments, all that stuff you got to worry about. And then savings, right? No more than 25% of your money, and this is the absolute max, should go to your equipment. Okay, 25% maximum, which means that if you're in dire need of new equipment, then you go up to 25%. And don't do this every year. Do this maybe once every couple of years if you need to. But 25% max, that's it. Because you got other things to worry about. You got to worry about food, insurance, bills, you know, all that other good stuff that we all love paying, right? But no more than 25%. 25% is even a lot, in my opinion, but no more than 25%. And this is the absolute max. Okay. Adrian Lim is asking, is it a concern that the A9 doesn't have picture profile compared to the A6500 or A7R3 for video purposes? Listen, I would have loved to have profiles on the A9, but I haven't run into any issues color grading. Even when the highlights were overexposed or the shadows were underexposed, like I haven't had issues color grading. We're getting 6K data into the picture onto the card, or 6K data onto the what am I saying? So we're getting 6K downscale to 4K. So you're getting actually very good dynamic range out of the A9. And I haven't, you know, you usually use picture profiles to get the most dynamic range out of your camera. So honestly, like I haven't had any issues. I've compared it to my A7S Mark I with Sony profiles, and I was able to color match them very easily, even while the Sony A7S was shooting in log mode. So I was able to match them very easily, actually. So no, it doesn't bother me that the profiles aren't there. Would I want them to be there? Yes, I would love them to be there because you can get even slightly more dynamic range out of the log profiles. But so far, on all the professional gigs that I've been shooting, like skits and workout videos and music videos, like I haven't run into any problems with color correction. I've had footage that the tutorial video I shot with Remy with the orbiting, if you notice, the color is a tad off, right? It's a little bit, it's not my favorite color. A lot of the shots in that video were so ridiculously overexposed, and they still slightly are. I saved the footage the best I could. That is because I didn't calibrate this. By the way, you got to learn from my mistake. I didn't properly calibrate my monitor, my Sakani monitor. It was not calibrated to produce the same images that the monitor was producing on the inbuilt monitor and the camera. So the monitor was showing everything exposed properly, while everything on the camera is actually overexposed. So that's another good thing you got to remember, is to properly calibrate your monitor. Try to match it up as close as you can to the monitor on the camera. Most of those shots were so like they were probably 4 or 5 stops overexposed. My face was almost completely white in 80% of those shots, but I was able to color correct it and restore some of that detail in my face. So, and I was not using any color profile because I was shooting on my Sony A9. Correct? Was I shooting on my Sony A9? Yeah. So for some shots, I was talking about. Yeah. Let me double check, guys. I'm like spewing BS right now because I don't remember what I shot with. Let me double check what camera I shot with. I think I'm talking about, yeah, so I shot with a Sony A9 let me double check here. Sorry, guys. I don't want to be giving you false information. I just want to double check which camera I was shooting with. Okay, so the camera that was shooting Remy was the Sony A9. So that's what I'm trying to talk about. So yeah, Remy's face was almost completely overexposed. Like it was very, very white. I was able to save a lot of that footage, shooting in a normal video mode. Obviously, I messed with some of the color options, like my sharpness. I went down 1 stop. My contrast I decreased by 2 stops, and my shadows I increased by 2 stops, I believe, or decreased by 2 stops. So it made the footage look very flat, and saturation was also decreased by 2 stops. So I tried to use that as a way to somewhat get a log look, but obviously it's not as good. Woo, that was a tough question. That picked my brain a little bit. But that's good. Thank you for that question. Oh man, more questions coming. Let's do it. Good night, Josh. Have a great day. Good night. Thank you so much. I can get tilt and pan axis balanced perfectly, but I can't seem to get the roll axis to a point where it doesn't roll a little bit one way or another. Okay, so this is a very common problem with single-handed gimbals. I'll tell you right now, if your pitch is balanced properly, if your pan is balanced properly, if your roll is balanced properly, if it recenters after you let go of the roll, that is not a big deal, guys. I do have a fix for it. I have a little hack. Go to my channel, type in, or just go to YouTube and type in Jiwon Crane balance hack. I'll be the first video that pops up. I should be the first video that pops up. Watch that video. That will fix your issue with roll. But I'm telling you right now, it is not an issue when it comes down to battery life or stability. You're really not going to see a change there, especially stability. You're definitely not going to see a change. It's not a big deal, okay? I promise you that. Wind capture tech. Andreas, sorry for not answering your question earlier. It's just got bombarded with a ton of questions here. All right, so wind capture tech. Oh, this is a good question. Thanks for the answer, man. Has anyone ever called you Fabio? Yes, I get called Fabio and Jon Snow every freaking day of my life. Keep up the good work. You've helped me a lot with gimbal work. Awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Soldier edits, A7R3 with 16-35 f4 deadly combo. Beautiful combo. Beautiful combo. Love it. The only G Master I honestly would get would be the 70-200 because of that 2.8. I don't like shooting on telephoto lenses with the little aperture opening. I love my 16-35 f4. I love it. It's sharp, minimal distortion, minimal vignetting. I haven't really had to. I really haven't had to apply any lens correction to that lens. It's a very good lens. Adrian Lim is asking, would you recommend A6500 or A7R3 for holiday traveling? Lens will be 18-105, 35 1.8, 10-18, or a 24-105 f4. Both will end up being the same weight roughly, or APS-C lens with an A7R3. Yeah, no APS-C lens on an A7R3. And I'll tell you why, first of all. So the frame on the lens for APS-C lenses, if you apply that lens to a full frame body, you're gonna see a crop. You're gonna see a black border. So you never want to use an APS-C lens on a full frame body. That's one. Okay, you're gonna see a black frame. Simply because the opening in the lens is not wide enough to compensate for a full frame body. So my honest opinion is to use what are the lens choices? 18 to 105, depending on the aperture. You didn't post what aperture. I don't remember the aperture opening on the lens, but that's 18 to 105, I believe, is a crop sensor lens. So if that's the case, 24 to 105 f4, I know that for a fact that's a full frame lens. So 24 to 105 would be the lens of choice for the A7R Mark III for traveling. You get a decently wide focal length, and you get a 105 telephoto lens. 105 is excellent, 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 very good. So that would be the lens I would travel with. Next question. My gimbal has a 1.8 kilogram max payload, sometimes jitters with the A7R III with the 16 to 35 G Master. Yes, that's a very heavy setup. I think my setup is too heavy. Will the Crane Plus solve the problem? Yes, it will. G Master, very heavy lens. A7R III, decently heavy body. Not too heavy for the Crane V2. You're gonna have to upgrade to the Crane Plus. Honestly, though, if you want my honest opinion, I would get the Crane 2. Simply because if you decide to put a heavier setup on there, like if you want to add a mic or something like that, you never know. You want to buy the most future-proof gimbal on the market, and that right now is the Crane 2 because of that payload. So, and that focusability and better battery life. And by the way, guys, I have the beta firmware for the Crane 2, and it has roll follow. So it's already here. Roll follow is on the Crane 2. It's not available to the public yet because it's still in beta. I'm still testing it out, but so far I absolutely love it. The Crane 2 can now do roll follow, just like the Crane Plus. So for those of you who are worrying about that, the firmware is already there. It's in beta testing now. So don't worry, it's coming. Silvio says, you have very good content. I bought the Crane with your recommendation. Good channel. Thank you so much. D says, okay, next move for me, calibrate Sakani monitor. Yeah, definitely calibrate that thing. I didn't realize that. I didn't even think to calibrate my monitor because I'm just stupid sometimes. Because the more equipment you have, the dumber you become. Unfortunately, and this, when I say dumber, I mean the more you forget. With more equipment you have, the more you forget. So I have so much equipment now. I've lost so many cables, memory cards, like little things because I have so much equipment. So if I were you guys, keep track of your equipment by making maybe like an Excel spreadsheet, printing it out with a list of every single piece of equipment you have, so that when you go on a shoot, check off what equipment you're bringing, and then when you're done shooting, check off all of the equipment that you put back into your car when you pack up. That way, you won't lose anything. And also come up with a pre-shoot checklist. Calibrate monitor, calibrate camera, set proper exposure. I've gotten used to doing that, so I don't really need to do. But for me, now that I've added monitors to my setup, like I keep forgetting to calibrate my monitor. It's stupid, I know, but so many things are running through my head at times. I just forget to do things. That's another reason why I have a whiteboard. Because it reminds me what I need to be talking about and what I need to be doing a certain day. Whew. Dusty is asking, is a 1-inch sensor okay for wedding videos? Sony AX700 is what I'm looking at. I don't know, man. I don't shoot with Sony crop sensor cameras. I don't know the AX700. I don't know that camera. But knowing Sony, they're very good in low light. As for me, I'm only shooting on full frame cameras, full 35 mil sensors. So that's what I'm working with, man. Honestly, you're just gonna have to go to Best Buy or Fry's and play around with the camera on your own. My biggest advice to you is to look up some low light test footage with the AX700 and see what it can produce. I already know that the image quality is going to be fantastic, but with a 1-inch sensor, you're really limiting low light capabilities. So I would go on YouTube and check out some low light performance tests on that camera. Olga Productions. How did you just check what camera you used? Can you find that info in the MP4 files? No, I just watched the video again. I watched it. But yeah, there's no data. On MacBooks, you can actually tag certain files and write little notes in them. So maybe when you import your files, you can write little notes on the files. It might take you a long time though. And write little notes stating which camera you used. However, this is the thing. When I dump over my footage, guys, I dump over my footage on my hard drive within separate files. So I label the project. I label my client. Under that folder, I label the date. Under that file, I label the name of the project. Under that file, make folders for each different camera I'm using. I dump in the file to the appropriate folder of the camera that I'm shooting with, and then I add the sound in a separate folder. So if you organize your folders that way, you will never forget or mix up which camera that file came from. Okay. Yeah, it's a multi-step process, guys, but it's worth it at the end. Thank you so much for the answer. Gives me peace of mind. I'll check out the June hacks tomorrow. Awesome, 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 awesome. Adrian says, "Yep, 18105 f4. Yep, that's the lens. Okay, so it is full frame. So yeah, dude, go with the 18105. 18105 definitely. The question is, do you have both lenses? If you have both lenses, which I don't think you have because they're very close to each other, 24 and 18 is, it's pretty close to each other. But honestly, I would go wider just so I have that ability. But if it's a full frame 18105, I love that range, especially with the gimbal. An 18 mil would look beautiful for landscape shots. So yeah. Any good run and gun backpack you can recommend that fits an A7S lens already mounted on the Crane V2 and already assembled? That way you can just pull it out and start filming right away. There is no camera bag on the market to date that will let you have the Crane V2 assembled fully with your camera already attached. But the bag that I use, I will send you a link right now, is the Eve Case DSLR backpack. And I used it while I was shooting in downtown with Jason Vong. And I shot it multiple times on other shoots, especially workout videos, since that's like the biggest projects that I'm working on right now, workout videos all the way. Let me send you the link to the Eve Case. Let's find, here it is. It's 90 bucks. It's the best bag for the price. And it's water resistant, comes with a rain cover as well. Here's the link. Go ahead and check it out. And there you go. Woo! God. Throat's getting dry, but it's worth it. Adrian, oh yes, I'm planning to do a video of my dog for her walks. She runs fast. Full gimbal with the Sony. Capture focus, probably have to do inverted mode. Fantastic. Yeah, low angle shots, definitely inverted mode. Wind capture tech. How do you blind shoot? Oh, okay. Very good question. How do I blind shoot? Well, I would say blind shooting happens about 35–40% of my shoots. There's just certain angles I capture that I can't see the monitor or on both the camera body itself and a separate monitor. There's instances where you can't see what the camera sees. My biggest advice to you is to practice using a specific focal length on a camera. Practice just shooting at home and get used to that focal length. Once you get used to that focal length, you'll be able to shoot blindly. You really will. And then once you memorize that focal length, try other focal lengths, okay? And once you get used to practicing and using that focal length without looking at the camera, you'll easily be able to blind shoot. Blind shooting happens a lot with my 16–35 and my 24–70 lens. Obviously, the more narrow your lens is, the more difficult it is to envision what the camera sees. So with my skill right now, I'm good at up to 50 mil. That's the maximum right now that I can blind shoot in. And I'm still working on increasing that. But maybe I'll eventually do a tutorial on how to practice blind shooting, because that's a very, very important skill. There's always going to be angles, guys, that you're going to come across where you cannot look at the monitor. You're going to have to envision what the camera sees. And yeah, so that's just what it is. And however, when it comes down to exposure, you can never assume what the camera is doing with exposure. So my suggestion is go in that specific angle that you can't view the monitor in, take a picture, then bring the camera back to you where you can see it, look at the picture, and determine whether or not you're happy with the exposure there. So that's how you set the exposure blindly as well. Okay. There's honestly no way to set exposure blindly if you're moving inside and outside of a house. So going from a light area to a dark area, you can't really assume what the camera is doing most of the time. Obviously, the ISO, if it's set to 100 outside and you go inside, you're going to have very dark footage. So there's just no way to assume exposure most of the time. But when it comes down to framing, you can nail framing blindly a lot of the time. I've done it. Good question. Very good question. Okay, D says it's good to be busy. Keep us pressing. You got it, brother. Have I ever done a dog video, and what lens would I recommend? I've never done a dog video, but I would recommend something wide, like a 16, 18. A 16 to 35 would be the lens I would use. Jokes apart says, hi, Momentum. Please, how best can I follow focus? Can you elaborate on that question? Wow, guys, this is so overwhelming. It's okay. All right, we're going to nail it. We're going to nail it. I got to answer all these questions. Awesome. Thank you for the suggestion. You're welcome. Check out that backpack, that link I sent over, so that's good. Hello, greetings from Sweden. Adrian D, what's up, bro? I'm looking for a new mic, but I already have the Zoom H1. Would you recommend the Zoom H5 to be a good investment? I want to connect the shotgun mic to the recorder. Any idea which shotgun mic? I'll tell you my setup that I'm using. I'm using the Zoom H6 and a Rode NTG2. That's what I'm using, and I love it. They came out with a newer version, I think, of the NTG2. I think it's called the NTG4 Plus. But currently with my setup, I'm pretty happy. One advantage of the 1-inch sensors is their amazing low light ability. Yeah, but don't forget that it's not as big as a 35 mil. So you're going to get better low light on a 35 mil than you are a 1-inch. But yeah. Adrian D, any opinions on the Zoom SHG6 and Zoom SSH6 mic capsules? Or is it better to invest in a Rode NTG4, NTG2, Sennheiser? I want very low noise. So I don't have any of those Zooms. I do have the NTG2. NTG4 is a better microphone when it comes down to just like using it. It has more features. I don't know the exact features of it. There's just so much to keep track of. But currently, I'm using the NTG2 with my Zoom H6, and I'm getting very minimal noise. A lot of the times, I bump up the voice or bump up the volume of my voice to 5 decibels, and I don't hear any noise. Very, very minimal. Mac Carr says, all best from Poland, Momentum. Thank you so much. Adrian Lim says, sorry for the multiple questions. You mentioned 16 to 35. Have you considered the f2.8 version of the over the f4 before? I've considered it, but I didn't pull through with it simply because the 2.8 is large. It's very big. And honestly, with the 16 to 35, that's a pretty wide, wide angle lens. 16's wide, even 35 is like mid-range. I never really needed the 2.8. You're not going to get a very shallow depth of field with a wide angle lens because you're getting so much in the frame. So honestly, with a wide angle lens, I never really cared for going into a 2.8. F4 is what I use. So I'm pretty happy with my F4. However, when you start diving into like mid-range and telephoto lenses, that's when the f-stop really starts to matter. That's when you're going to start getting extremely shallow depths of field and bokeh. So telephoto lenses and mid-range lenses, that's more where you got to focus on f-stop. Higher f-stop number is obviously going to be better in low light and better bokeh, better depth of field. With a wide-angle lens, I worry less about having a high f-stop number simply because a lot more is in the shot, and you're not going to get as shallow depth of field. Any inside info on the Sony a7S Mark III? Nothing yet. Nothing yet. I just know that it's going to have the same body as the a7R Mark III because that's history. That's Sony's history, and history repeats itself. All right, my friends, I have answered every single question on this live stream. And we've been going on for 2 hours already, so I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, please share this channel with your friends, anybody interested in filmmaking. I want to get up to 30,000 subs this week. So we got 2 more days in the week, Saturday and Sunday, and hopefully we'll be at 30,000 subs. Please, please, please share. Also, if you'd like to throw me a super chat, little donation always helps out with the channel. I really appreciate your guys' support, and let's make this community big. All right, let's make it a large filmmaking community. I tried my best answering all of your questions, and I think I did. I answered probably, I don't know, ballpark maybe like over 100 questions at least. So yeah, I think over 100 questions I answered. So please, 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 if you can support this channel in any way, if you can't donate money, that's fine, but at least, you know, share the channel with your friends and family. That would mean everything. Yeah, so I really, really appreciate that. Jokes apart says, mine wasn't answered. Okay, ask it. Ask it really quick. Yours will be the last question of the day. Oh, man, my throat is dry. Jokes apart, answer it. Ask it, bro. Ask the question. What is your question? No? You didn't ask it? Okay, I'll give you about 20 more seconds to ask it, and then I got to shut off the live stream because I got to head out. But yeah. No, nothing about follow focus. Yeah, I asked you to elaborate on it. Adrian D says I didn't. Oh, okay. Adrian D, your question's right there. The NTG2 is active microphone that doesn't need phantom power. Yes, that's true. Is it a good idea to buy an adapter and use the Zoom H1 with it, or should I just get the H5? I'd get the H6, man. H6. Yeah. Yeah, jokes apart, you gotta elaborate more about the follow focus, man. You didn't ask me a complete question, unfortunately. So, yeah. All right, guys. Well, I answered as many as I could. I think I answered at least 95% of them, at least. So that's an A rating, right? So please, as I said earlier, donate if you can. If you can't donate, please share this channel with your friends and family. Let's get that sub rate up to 30,000 by the end of this week. And I have more equipment to be doing giveaways with. So please, 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 let's share this channel. I love you all. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.